everyone, and welcome to Financial Minds Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Jaime Agostino. On this podcast, we're joined by financial industry experts to talk about topics, trends, and themes that credit union professionals need to know about. Today, we are joined by Stephanie Miracle with the Federal Reserve and Andi Crockett with Vizo Financial and MyCU Services to talk about FedNow. Welcome, Stephanie. Welcome, Andi. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. So Stephanie, just in case someone may not know, what is the FedNow Service?
Yeah, so the FedNow Service is an instant payments rail developed by the Federal Reserve banks to transfer money instantly between financial institutions. So that means we're available 24/7, 365, or this year 366, and that allows payments to settle within a matter of seconds. Indeed, what we're seeing is they settle in about an average of about 5 seconds. It's distinctive from other kind of rails like ACH or checks or others because we talk about things like the availability of it, that it's available 24/7, that it's happening within seconds, and that it's irrevocable. So there's important implications for businesses as well as end consumer members, especially during times when immediate access to money is critical. I'm excited to say that as of this morning, 474 financial institutions participating on the network. And I tell you what, if you ask me again later on this afternoon, it's going to be more. We are growing by leaps and bounds. Very exciting.
All right, great. So how does Stephanie, how does the FedNow Service make instant payments safer in the U.S.?
You know what? That's a really great question. So within FedNow, we really felt like with this instant payment rail, it was going to be imperative that safety and security be a key pillar to this. And so we offer many capabilities and features and functionalities in the service that help protect this important information. So, for example, we have digital signatures, and that helps both the sender FI and receiver FI and us know, yes, this came from this expected sender. So we protects the authenticity and integrity of the message. We encrypt content in flight as well as at rest. When we store things at the Fed, we tokenize certain critical data elements such as member account numbers. But additionally, we offer some features to financial institutions that they can take advantage of. For example, the network limit is $500,000, but that might be a little rich for certain credit unions' blood, and they might want to take that down. So each transaction, the financial institution gets to set what they're comfortable with. We also offer a negative list. Now, the negative list can help that credit union say, hey, I want to never send any money to this RTN and account number, or they could say, I never want to receive money from this account and RTN number. So it's that a specific account number that you have maybe had a bad experience with in the past, or suspicious account number that you just want to, hey, that's enough of that. We're going to stop that. We do require that financial institutions report fraud on the network. And indeed, fraud has occurred on the network. We've had some reports of fraud. And what happens is we share that reported fraud with the counterparty. We are looking at building out more advanced capabilities on the networks to shore up. And I want to be clear that there's fraud in every rail. The fraud that we're seeing, we've had tens of thousands of transactions, and we've had, I think I can keep it all on one hand, the number of reports of fraud that we've seen. So very, very little fraud on the network, but nevertheless, we're glad to see that these processes are in place, and we're looking forward to offering future capabilities that can help FIs stay strong and help fight against these bad actors.
All right. So Stephanie, what are some of the features and the functionality that are included in the FedNow service?
You know, at launch, we've started out, we have the ability for financial institutions to send and receive credit transfers, but we have a really great feature called request for payment. So in this case, Jaime, you could request payment from me to maybe we split pizza over lunch, and you could request the money for me to pay you back. And that's really, really powerful. Can help not only consumers like ourselves, but also those business customers, billers. Think of a small business, a painter trying to collect funds from, their job and then pay those funds likewise. Now, an important aspect of FedNow is we also offer liquidity management transfers. You can imagine with instant payments, we are seeing and have observed over this course of time, the nature and the timing of payments is shifting. So we see payments happening at all hours of the day. And as a result of that, we have a big game coming up. And I'm in Kansas City. I'm a fan of the Chiefs, and I might want to put my money where my mouth is on that. And what we're seeing a lot is, perhaps I want to collect some winnings. Perhaps one of my friends dared suggest that my team wouldn't win, and so I might want to collect those funds. Well, financial institutions may see some ebbing and flowing of payment patterns, and so being able to access liquidity funds through another financial institution who will lend them those funds available around the clock as well, that will help them stay whole with their master account at the Fed, or indeed if they're settling through a correspondent. Other options for them. So, and we're just getting started. I'll tell you what, we have a fulsome roadmap with lots of other capabilities coming down the pike very soon. So very excited to see what we have going on.
All right. So Andi, how is Vizo Financial and their payment queue, so MyCU services, helping credit unions, their members, access the FedNow service?
Yeah, thanks, Jaime. We are currently working with credit unions to establish connections for them to receive and also settle instant payments for the FedNow service. So we're happy to share too that we will be looking at offering instant payments for send functionality and those services coming up here soon for the FedNow service. So I would encourage you all to keep a lookout for those communications. We're definitely hoping to have that rolled out by the beginning of Q2 for 2024. And then, of course, we also do offer other services that the credit unions might need, like profile management for their FedNow participant profile. So there's a couple different services that we can, of course, teach the, credit unions about, have them look and see if those options are the best for their credit union. And if they are, of course, we can look at implementing.
All right. Sounds good. So Stephanie, why is now the right time for credit unions to consider adopting some of the faster payment or instant payment option?
Do you know what? I think it's so exciting to me to be in this dynamic space. And I think that if credit unions are looking at their member base and they might see that their members are moving money now, even without them, right? So if you look at wallet disbursements and things like that are happening there, and members are doing that not necessarily because they love and trust those other providers, but because they're giving them that access. So you can see that. Another great place that I like to go to check out what's happening in the world of instant payments is job boards. So if you think of something like an Indeed.com and you go out there and you can type in either daily pay sometimes, or you can type in same day pay. I just did it for Kansas City yesterday, and over 1,000 jobs came up. And we're not talking about just, Uber or gig economy kind of things. I saw jobs out there that the reported salary was 6 figures. So just incredible where people are seeing earned wage access and other activities. And we're really seeing more opportunities. One of the things that I've heard from credit unions is that they are looking at loan disbursements. So if you think of auto loans or things like that, and what I've heard in the marketplace is, hey, when you can offer instant payments, then those dealers are more likely to choose you. And we're also hearing where dealers are willing to reduce fees in order to have that confidence in funds. So I think there's a lot of opportunities where credit unions can really expand their share of the marketplace, but also maybe create a better customer experience for their members. So I think it's an exciting time in this space.
All right. Well, Andi, I'm aware that you've been working with several credit unions and connecting them with the FedNow Service through Vizo Financial and MyCU. What has their motivation been for adding this service?
Yeah, of course, I can speak to that. Our credit union members really want to stay competitive as the payments ecosystem evolves into a space of faster and even instant payments. So I'm going to echo some of the things that Stephanie said. Of course, credit unions want to be able to offer an alternative to existing overlay services, like some of those apps that are out there today for mobile devices, and also, digital wallets as well. So the financial institutions will have the ability to implement services with the FedNow Service to enable their credit union members to receive payments with increased speed for funds availability. And I can tell you that is a huge selling point with consumers and, of course, emerging generations as we get into the younger, gene pool of consumers. We're going to see the need for faster payments. And of course, as Stephanie had mentioned, there are some, opportunities with jobs where you can get paid the same day. And those aren't just gig situational jobs. So we're going to see that increase over time. And it's, refreshing to hear that there are even some car dealerships that are offering, discounts and things like that, just to have that confidence in those funds arriving. And of course that, they're not going to go back because they're irrevocable.
All right. So Stephanie, you mentioned it early, but remind me, how many credit unions are using the FedNow service as of this morning or this afternoon?
I tell you what, credit unions are on fire. There is no stopping them. So I took a look this morning. We have over 70 credit unions live. And I'll tell you, the pipeline for those that are onboarding, they're on fire. There's so many of them coming in and really taking advantage of this space and seeing the opportunity. And I'll tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret, Jaime. Just keep it between us, though. Don't share with the broader network. You know who our biggest senders are and our biggest receivers are? Credit unions. They are leaning in hard to instant payments. And I love the innovation that they're showing and how they are experimenting with new ways that they can bring value to their members. So I think it's an exciting time to be in the credit union space. And I love to see them really leaning in hard and trying new things. But let me give another little secret. Sometimes when I talk to financial institution, they think, well, shoot, maybe I want to, but maybe I'll just start receive only. I'm a little bit uncomfortable. Within FedNow, you're in the driver's seat. So you can choose which of your members, indeed, if any of your members, are going to be able to send. You could start, for example, sending within your own organization, reimbursing associates as they travel, paying your own vendors, those loan disbursements that we've talked about. Another area that you might think about that might be a lower hanging fruit is to look at checks. Unfortunately, check fraud is definitely on the rise. And one thing I know about instant payments is you can't wash them like you can a physical check, and no one's going to steal it out of your mailbox. So I think that there might be some surgical opportunities within your credit union that you might think differently. So you don't have to go broad and deep and wide and offer everything to everybody all the time. You can start with some surgical use cases, get some experience up, and then expand from there based on what makes sense for your organization. So a lot of opportunity.
All right. So then, Andi, how many credit unions are Vizo Financial and MyCU's currently working with for the FedNow service?
Yeah, so we are currently implementing receive, settlement, and in some cases, profile management services for the FedNow service with about 9 of our credit union members at this time. We are also in active discussions with at least 24 more credit unions looking to initiate their journey for the FedNow service for 2024.
All right. So Andi, what should credit unions be thinking about, when they're planning for the FedNow service?
So they should be thinking about a number of things, of course, how they want to connect for the FedNow service, what connectivity profiles they want to use. So of course, receive, send, settlement, of course. Those cannot go without, settlement. So those, and then of course, profile management. One of the things that I'm seeing across the board for a lot of the credit unions that I'm having discussions with are the profile management piece. So the FedNow participant profile is going to be managed by either the credit union or a third party. So those are things that you want to look at. You want to determine whether or not your FedLine access is, enough or high enough access to be able to manage your profile through the Federal Reserve. So that's just one of the things that the credit unions need to take a look at and also prepare themselves for. It's always a good idea to reach out to your Fed relationship manager, of course, your core processor, to see whatever is going to go into the implementation process, whatever onboarding and setup needs to go forward, and then also any fees that they need to account for their budget.
Right.
Andi, that's really great advice. And one thing that I love to see here is it's so great to have access to folks who have been there, done that. And so definitely, I suspect that in your work, you've been able to kind of hear some key lessons learned. And I would encourage your credit unions to really ask those questions and unpack. One of the messages that I heard loud and clear and lessons learned was, hey, don't just stop and say, okay, you support FedNow, great, and then go from there. Really unpack, like, what specifically do you support? How is that user experience? How's our internal staff experience going? And so I love that you have that experience under your belt and that you're bringing in others and can kind of help others see what that looks like and how that can how they might benefit from that experience. So very nice.
Thank you. So Stephanie, you had said the word use cases. So what are some of the popular use cases for these financial institutions?
Do you know, recently I've heard some interesting use cases. One is around micro deposits, right? So we all know them from, but if you think about that customer experience, so today, if I tried to do a micro deposit, many days later, they're hoping I go back out there and check how many pennies came into my account and then come back in. What a clunky user experience. But with instant payments, they can tell them of the moment within seconds. That customer can see, yep, I've got this, and they can go and finish their enrollment. So micro deposits is quite interesting. And I heard another interesting use case for micro deposits around security. So people were making a micro deposit in the known account of the user, and that way they were able to confirm that, yes, I am speaking to Stephanie who has access to this account. So I thought that was an interesting use case for micro deposits. We also are seeing some interesting use cases around construction space. So you can imagine supply chain still is a real concern, and lots of use cases in there to really help them float their cash and make sure that they're leveraging those funds and availability for that. So we're seeing a lot of activity in those specific use cases. Let's see, we're also seeing some interesting use cases around helping to help corporations kind of manage their cash. And whether you're a small business or whether you're more complicated, we're seeing them manage like sweep accounts or prepping for payroll, things like that, just to make that easier. Indeed, we've heard some laws in some states. I live in Missouri. There's some earned wage access laws here in Missouri. In some states, they require that if that you have an associate who leaves, you need to make them whole of the moment. And, sometimes those organizations are using preloaded cards. Boy, might not be comfortable having a drawer full of preloaded cards, and trying to do that. Instant payment seems like a much more graceful way to handle that for the customers. You don't have to worry about a shipment and all the good times there. So lots of different use cases happening. And I love seeing kind of innovation and people going beyond P2P or last minute bill pay.
So Stephanie, what's on the horizon for the FedNow service?
I'll tell you what, we have, we're working on some advanced fraud capabilities. It's just such a popular topic for financial institutions. We're also looking at ways that we can help get easier access to information. And one of the things that is quite interesting for us is we're creating a new developer platform. And so it's a tech-centric space online that they can go and get interesting information about documentation, code and message samples, things like that to help them kind of facilitate and test drive, and might be useful for them as they're talking to their customers. So lots of new things. There's longer term things that we're looking at have to do with APIs, or even being able to accommodate bulk capabilities or batch capabilities. So if I'm doing payroll, if I'm paying a couple of associates, that might be one thing, but if I'm paying thousands of associates, oh boy. And so those are things that we're looking at over the course of time to bring them into the market. So lots underway.
All right. So Andi, if a credit union is interested in using, Vizo Financial and their payment QSO, how should they get started?
Yeah, so I would recommend that if you're interested or your credit union is, looking for a way to start their research journey for the FedNow service, absolutely reach out to your corporate account manager at Vizo Financial or MyC Services to, start that engagement process so that you can learn about things that you may not know about as of right now, so that of course you can cover all of your bases. Now, I don't know about you all, but I don't like to start a project to get, halfway through it and then have, a huge surprise come up where you have to backtrack or you have to plan, something that you should have planned in advance for. So I think that is a really important part of the process. Even though you may not be ready right now to implement, it's a good idea to go out there and have those conversations, because it'll draw out a lot of missing links and puzzle pieces, if you will, that are missing for your research purposes. So as far as, reaching out to your corporate account manager, I would give them a shout if you have any questions. And of course, I look forward to meeting with you all if you reach out to them, and we'll have a conversation and we'll just bounce some ideas off of one another. And then of course, if you have any questions, whether you choose Vizo Financial for your service provider or not, I'm absolutely welcoming any questions that you all would have about the FedNow service.
All right, thank you. So
Yeah.
Stephanie, any final thoughts for our listeners today?
I think we're at a seminal point in payments and a really exciting time as we transition. So I think that we're all going to have to kind of take a step or two outside of our comfort zone and try new things and be open to those new ideas and really hear differently from our customers, and really think about, well, what would make life easier and how would that how can we bring more value there? So I think it's going to be an exciting time for us going forward. I agree with Andi, and if I could double underscore a couple of things there is I would encourage you, if you're thinking about coming into FedNow and instant payments, is bring friends. So what you want to do there is think about cross-functional teams. Bring your customer engagement, bring your your call center staff, bring your teller teams, bring your operations operational, your back office, your fraud, bring them all together, because together you're going to have different perspectives of this, and you're going to be able to solve those things all the way through, and think through what that experience really looks like, and have a better experience. And don't be afraid to ask those questions. And if you don't know the questions to ask, not a problem. I'm sure Andi and others can help, but we also have a FedNow Explorer site with a ton of resources on it that can help. So check that out as well for different tools that may be useful to you.
All right. Andi, what about you? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, of course, not to kind of jump on the curtails of what Stephanie just said, but of course, when you're bringing everyone, it's such a good idea to make sure, and we're really going to drive home on this education piece here, with it being such a new payment rail, something that you can learn fresh from the start. I think that it's a great idea to bring everyone that you can in to learn about the FedNow service and instant payments, of course, so that you have all of the subject matter experts available to you at your credit union. The more you know, the better, of course, in almost every situation. So I think that doing that is very, very helpful. And, of course, if you have not reached out to maybe a payments association or something of that matter to make sure that you are up to date on your accreditations. I know that there is some coming up in the future for faster payments, which would include instant payments. So I would really drive home on that education piece. And of course, the FedNow Explorer website's there. You can access the U.S. Faster Payments Council website for use cases for all faster payment outlets. So I would encourage you to do that research and really build upon your education as it results from the FedNow service and new instant payment rails.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie, Andi. Thank you so much for joining me today to discuss FedNow. I really appreciate it. And if you want to hear more about the FedNow service, we will be talking with Andi again next week, along with Riverfront Federal Credit Union, who recently implemented onto the FedNow service. So we'll hear straight from them as far as how that process has gone and how their members are receiving that. So thank you both. Really appreciate it. And Stephanie, I hope you and your Chiefs do well.
Oh, thanks for that, Jaime. I appreciate it.
I do as well. I'm an Eagles fan, but of course they're out this year. But we will root for the Chiefs this year.
Oh,
so
thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This episode of Financial Minds Meet the Experts, it's brought to you by Vizo Financial's 2024 Financial Strategies Workshop. Vizo Financial's strategy workshops are back to give your credit union those strategies to manage your financials and stay ahead of the game. Each one-day event will provide engaging, informative content brought to you by our very own financial experts to empower you with essential financial strategies that go beyond the basics. For more information, please visit our website at www.vfccu.org and register today. As always, thanks for listening and make it a great day.